Hey everybody, this is Chris Walden with Walden Arms here, and today I have a couple of the brand new G44s, the new 22 long rifle pistol, the long-awaited long rifle pistol in by Glock. So when I got it in, I was really kind of excited because I'm like, what has Glock done to this thing? What's going on with it? And so obviously as a Glock Master Armor, I wanted to take this thing apart and kind of see what's in here. So I did. So I took it apart and pulled the trigger a couple times, did some dry fire actions on it, wanted to kind of see what was going on. Pulled the slide apart. This is an interesting little pistol. So a lot of these little 22 long rifles that are like the GSGs and some of the other ones have like aluminum slides. What Glock chose to do was a polymer outside, like a hard shell, and like a partial metal insert, and you can kind of see that definitive line right there between the two. So like all of the innards on this are all lighter metal. It's a 22 long rifle, so you're not going to have the massive explosion. The little chamber is pretty cool. Again, this whole gun is set up just like a normal Glock. So you've got your little locking block, and you've got the dramatic drop off there for the little 22 long rifle barrel. It is target crowned, like all Gen 5s are now target crowned. It has a normal guide rod and recoil spring here that looks very similar starting in Gen 4 and going forward. Obviously, the spring is way lighter weight. I believe you can kind of almost compress that with your hand. The magazines, and I was kind of disappointed in the magazines. I thought Glock would have done a much better job. They're only 10-round capacities, and that seems to be one of the normal problems with this magazine. But it does have these really large ears on the side. It seems to function pretty well. Looks like it's going to hold everything in place. Standard Glock magazine base plate on that and everything else. Let's talk about the sights real quick. So the rear sight on this is one of their target rear sights. This is the worst design I have ever seen by any firearms manufacturer. Not only is it cheap, but it's also ineffective, and this thing will move around on you like a bad penny in circulation. So not a fan of that. On the internal pieces, so when I took the assembly apart, I used my normal Glock Armor's tool. Right there. There we go. Take it apart, and you'll find your normal striker spring, spring cup. But the interesting thing about this is your striker, right there, looks very different. It does not look like your normal traditional striker. Looks like it's almost cut in half. I'm sure this is probably a lot lighter than the normal striker. Even the striker leg, which interacts with the crucible, is very different. Your ejector cam and your cam bearing is a little 9mm. It's the black one that's indicated. The spring looks to be the same. Your extractor looks like a normal little Glock extractor. It's kind of chopped way off, though, to grab that tiny little 22 rimfire shell. You can see the little tooth right there at the very end. Your safety plunger is a very different little safety plunger. It looks like it's almost been halved off in comparison to a normal Glock, so it looks like it's missing part of it, but that's, I think, by design for everything else. The spring looks and appears to be the exact same spring horrible spring that they put in all of their guns. The internals are a Gen 5 firing system, which was kind of really started in the 42 as a kind of a test thing. Looks like it's a little 9mm ejector right there. And then the crucible and everything else appears all normal. Because it's kind of a Gen 5 firing system, that trigger bar angle is a little different. Gen 4, a lot of people had issues with the Gen 4 being a much rougher trigger pull because the trigger bar was kind of bent in a funny way. Glock changed the angle on it. They realized they didn't need to do that with the different grip interchangeabilities. You also have the ambidextrous slide locks. It's not a slide release lever. I know there are some guys that try and operate Glocks like they're a 1911 or a 92, Beretta 92, but they're not. It's a slide lock lever. You get your normal 4 back straps there. You get your kind of 2 oversized ones to fit a bunch of different hands, and with the extended beaver tail on there. All in all, I think this is a pretty good copy of an actual Glock. You also get kind of a cool little sticker here that you normally don't see with all the other Glocks. start your journey, Plink 44. I think this is going to be a really great pistol. I think it's going to be even better as a training tool for departments, training young people on firearm safety. The trigger pull appears to be fairly standard for a normal Glock trigger pull on these guns. Obviously, I would probably do some work and some cleanup on this. Like normal, you can see like there's some rough marks on the on that. You can kind of see, you can kind of angle it. There we go. You can kind of see on the right there. That's the piece that actually pushes in the safety plunger. And so if you get some nicks or some burrs on that, obviously it's going to make that trigger pull feel nice and gritty. And obviously you want to clean this up. It looks like it's a kind of a different grade metal. This is a lot more discolored than most normal brand new Glocks coming out of the factory. So I don't know if they did something a little different. Also in the slide, normally you see that a lot of that beryllium copper. I don't see a lot of it in here, and probably because there doesn't really need to be a whole lot of it because it is only just a 22 long rifle. The chamber brush apparently is, they don't, oh, there we go. Wow. So it's a very different chamber brush, and they also now give you a little eyelet along with the chamber bore cleaning rod. So that's another different feature that Glock has added, and it looks like that chamber brush looks like it's some kind of metal, and before in years past they've always used like that kind of like that polymer or plastic on the chamber brushes. So a couple different features, but all in all, it appears to be a Glock. Dry firing the pistol fires just like a normal Glock. It's very, very lightweight. It feels kind of, I was looking for kind of the real weight that a normal Glock would actually have, and it doesn't have that. The other feature I also wanted to mention too, so there's no finger grooves. I hate that about Gen 5s. I'm a finger groove guy, always have been, probably always will be. I don't mind the Gen 5s, but I like those finger grooves. And then again, you've got your little tack rail right there, so you can put like a light or something else tack to cool on there. Put a piece of Velcro, whatever you need to do. So again, I think this is probably Glock's best designer, probably one of the best little 22 long rifles. It's about as close to the realistic thing as humanly possible. I think for departments using this gun for training to save money and time, I think it's awesome. I wish there were a little higher round capacities. Everybody knows, though, how I feel about more than 5 rounds at a time. And if you don't take a class with me, but I think this is a great example. I think it's going to be great to teach people how to shoot and get more comfortable with the Glock platform. I'm excited to see what other new and innovative things they're going to do. I'd like to make one of these a competition pistol. I got 2 in. They sold immediately, so I'm going to try and get a couple of more in. All right, again, this is Chris Walden with Walden Arms, and thanks for watching our review on the Glock 44. Have a great day. Bye.